10 things that force your chest to grow that 90% of men ignore. The pectorals are one of the most important muscles in an aesthetic physique because, along with the abs, they make up the entire front of your body. However, many men, even after years of training, fail to develop this muscle well because they don't know or don't respect certain golden rules for hypertrophy in this region. That's why today you'll see 10 tips that force your chest to grow. Stay tuned until the end, because 99% ignore number 4. Before we begin, please tell us in the comments your name and the city where you're watching our content from. We'd love to know. Number 10. Repetition variation. Most practitioners get stuck in a comfort zone, always training with the same rep range, usually something between 8 to 12 reps. While this is an efficient range for hypertrophy, it represents only part of the muscle growth potential you can achieve. The problem is that your pectorals have different types of muscle fibers, and each responds better to specific stimuli. Fast twitch fibers are recruited mainly with heavy loads and low repetitions, while endurance fibers respond better to higher repetitions with moderate loads. When you always train in the same range, you're leaving part of these fibers without adequate stimulus to grow. What makes this strategy particularly valuable is that it allows for more complete and balanced pectoral development. To implement this correctly, alternate between different ranges every few weeks. For example, dedicate a mesocycle of 3 to 4 weeks, working with 3 to 4 very heavy repetitions, focusing on maximum strength. Then switch to 6 to 10 repetitions with moderate load, and subsequently work with 12 to 20 repetitions with lighter loads. A common mistake is changing the rep range every workout or even within the same session. This doesn't give your body enough time to adapt to the specific stimulus. Maintain consistency within each mesocycle before progressing. For men over 40, this variation is even more important because it helps preserve joints by not always overloading them with the same type of tension. Number 9. Training frequency. Many practitioners still follow the old training split where each muscle group is worked only once per week. For beginners, this may work initially, but if you've been training for a while and want to maximize chest growth, you need to increase frequency. What many people don't know is that training a muscle 2 or even 3 times per week while maintaining adequate weekly volume produces superior results to training once per week. This happens because you distribute the stimulus more efficiently throughout the week, keeping the muscle in an anabolic state for longer. When you train chest only once a week, it grows in the first days after training, but then goes several days without any stimulus. With greater frequency, you better leverage protein synthesis windows. To execute this correctly, intermediate and advanced lifters should train chest at least twice a week. You can divide this in various ways, such as one workout focused on heavy compound exercises and another on isolation and volume, or one workout for upper and middle chest and another for middle and lower chest. The secret is not simply doubling the volume, but distributing it intelligently. If you were doing 20 sets per week in a single day, do 10 sets in each of the 2 workouts, adjusting according to your recovery. A mistake I see many people make is increasing frequency without reducing volume per session, which quickly leads to overtraining. Number 8. Use cables. Most practitioners build their chest training based mainly on bench presses and push-ups, leaving cables only as an optional complement. This is a mistake that severely limits pectoral development. Cables offer a type of tension that barbells and dumbbells simply cannot provide. When you do a bench press with a barbell or dumbbells, there's a point at the top of the movement where tension in the pectorals decreases drastically because bones and joints take over the load. With cable exercises, resistance remains constant throughout the entire arc of movement, keeping the pectorals under tension from start to finish. Additionally, cables allow you to work horizontal adduction more efficiently, which is bringing your arms forward and inward, crossing the body's midline. This is a primary function of the pectorals that is underutilized in free weight exercises. The beauty of cable exercises lies in their ability to generate peak contraction at the end of the movement, something impossible with dumbbells. To include them correctly, use crossovers at different angles, cable flies, and cable presses. You can do high cables to emphasize the lower chest, cables at mid-height to work the medial portion, and low cables to recruit more of the upper portion. A common mistake is using excessive load on cables, which forces you to use momentum and removes tension from the pectorals. Keep loads controlled and focus on muscle contraction. Number 7. Inward pressure. Here's a simple technique that most practitioners are completely unaware of, but that can significantly increase your pectoral activation during compound exercises. During the barbell bench press, imagine you're trying to push your hands toward each other, as if you wanted to bring the ends of the bar together, even knowing they won't move. This seems insignificant, but creates a powerful biomechanical phenomenon. When you generate this intention of adduction, you activate the primary function of the pectorals much more intensely, even though your hands remain in the same position. It's that old mind-muscle connection concept taken to the next level. Those who can achieve good muscular awareness will always have more gains because they're recruiting more fibers intentionally. What makes this technique particularly valuable is that it doesn't require special equipment or exercise changes, just a mental adjustment in how you execute movements you already do. To implement this, start with lighter loads until you master the sensation. During the bench press, as you push the bar up, consciously contract the pectorals as if trying to bring your hands closer together. You'll feel your chest working much more intensely. Apply this also to dumbbell presses, and even push-ups. A common mistake is confusing this with actually moving your hands, which compromises your stability. The intention is mental, hand position remains fixed. Number 6. Do a strategic deload. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to science-based information is what will help you progress healthily long-term in the world of bodybuilding. Fitness culture has created the idea that more is always better, that you need to train intensely every week without stopping to see results. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Your muscle doesn't grow during training. It grows during recovery. After 6 to 8 weeks of intense and progressive training, your nervous and muscular systems accumulate fatigue that isn't fully removed just with regular rest days. This residual fatigue begins to harm your performance, reduces your ability to recruit muscle fibers, and increases injury risk. That's where strategic deload comes in. A deload is a week where you intentionally reduce training volume by approximately 50%, maintaining moderate intensity. This isn't laziness or regression, it's a progression tool. During this week, your body finally has a chance to fully recover, repair accumulated micro tears, replenish glycogen stores, and reset the nervous system. The result is that you come back stronger, can increase loads, and have greater gains long-term. To execute a deload correctly, every 6 to 8 weeks of progressive training, do a week reducing the number of sets by half. If you were doing 4 sets of bench press, do 2. Keep loads around 60 to 70% of what you were using. A common mistake is thinking you'll lose muscle during the deload, when in reality, it's during this week that much hypertrophy happens. Number 5. Leave flies for the end. The order of exercises in your chest workout has a huge impact on results, but many practitioners choose randomly or based only on personal preference. Compound exercises like bench presses and presses allow you to use much heavier loads and recruit not only the pectorals, but also triceps and shoulders synergistically. Isolation exercises like flies work almost exclusively the pectorals, but with much smaller loads. When you start training with flies, you pre-exhaust the pectorals with an isolation exercise and low load. Then, when you go to compounds that would allow heavy loads, your chest is already fatigued and you can't use your full strength potential. The result is that you leave gains on the table. What makes the correct order particularly important is that it allows you to use your maximum energy on exercises that generate greater hypertrophic stimulus and total muscle recruitment. To structure correctly, always start with heavy compound exercises like flat barbell bench press, incline bench press, or presses. Use all your strength and focus on these movements. Then, when the pectorals are already well stimulated, but not yet completely exhausted, move to isolation exercises like dumbbell or cable flies. This allows you to completely exhaust pectoral fibers in an already fatigued state. Flies are perfect for the end because they allow you to stretch the pectorals and their fibers very well, finishing the workout ideally. A common mistake is mixing compound and isolation exercises without criteria throughout the workout. Number 4. Incline bench angle. The incline bench press is considered essential for developing the upper portion of the pectorals, but most people use the wrong angle and basically transform the exercise into a shoulder press. When you incline the bench too much, the emphasis of the movement migrates from the upper chest to the anterior deltoids. You'll know you're using excessive angle if you feel your shoulders burning much more than your chest during the exercise. The ideal angle to maximize activation of the clavicular portion of the pectorals is around 30 degrees. At this incline, you maintain significant tension in the upper chest while minimizing work transfer to the shoulders. Above 45 degrees, electromyography studies show that pectoral activation drops drastically and deltoid work increases proportionally. To implement this correctly, adjust the incline bench to the first or second hole, which generally results in approximately 30 degrees. If your bench doesn't have clear markings, use as reference a low incline, closer to horizontal than vertical. During execution, the bar should descend toward the upper part of the chest, near the clavicles. A common mistake is thinking the more inclined the better for the upper chest, when reality is the opposite. Another mistake is lowering the bar too far down on the chest, which increases stress on the shoulders. Number 3, control the eccentric phase. Here's probably the most neglected tip of all. When you load up the bench press bar with weights and believe your only challenge is to make it go up, but when lowering it, you just let it happen in free fall, know that you're leaving half your hypertrophy gains on the table. The eccentric phase, which is when you're lowering the weight, is responsible for causing more muscle microtears than the concentric phase. These microtears are the primary trigger for the muscle repair and growth process. When you lower the weight quickly, you remove this stimulus. Additionally, the eccentric phase allows you to generate more mechanical tension in the muscle, because your muscle fibers can support approximately 20 to 30% more load during the descent than during the ascent. This additional tension is one of the main factors for hypertrophy. What makes eccentric control particularly valuable is that it maximizes the muscle's time under tension without requiring absurd loads that would compromise your joints. To execute this correctly, lower the weight in a controlled manner in 2 to 3 seconds during the negative phase of each movement. In the bench press, this means mentally counting while the bar descends to your chest. In flies, open your arms slowly and controlled. A common mistake is thinking the eccentric phase should be extremely slow, like 5 seconds or more. This can be useful occasionally, but for regular training, 2 to 3 seconds is ideal. Control without exaggeration. Number 2, always use proper range of motion. Ego is probably the biggest enemy of muscle growth, and nowhere is this more evident than in range of motion. Training with half range seems impressive because it allows you to use bigger loads, but it's a complete illusion. When you do bench press, stopping the bar 4 inches above your chest, you're mainly working the triceps in the final portion of the movement. The pectorals are barely recruited. Full range means lowering the bar until it touches your chest in the barbell bench press, and lowering dumbbells even deeper, allowing complete pectoral stretch. This stretch in the lengthened position of the muscle is crucial for maximum hypertrophy because it generates mechanical tension at the ideal muscle length and activates specific growth mechanisms. Movements with full range produce greater muscle activation, work the muscle throughout its entire extension, and overload the chest in the lengthened position, which is essential for gains. To execute this correctly, leave ego aside and reduce the load if necessary. In barbell bench press, lower until the bar lightly touches the middle part of your chest. With dumbbells, lower until you feel a comfortable stretch in the pectorals. Generally, this means elbows go below the torso line. A common mistake is confusing full range with dangerous range. You don't need to force a painful hyperextension. The stretch should be comfortable and controlled. People with sensitive shoulders may need slightly reduced range. Number 1, use progressive overload. This is the fundamental law of hypertrophy that many know but few actually apply. Your body adapts to the stress you impose on it. If you always train with the same weights, doing the same repetitions, week after week, your body has no reason to grow. It has already adapted to that stimulus. Progressive overload means consistently increasing the demand on your muscles over time. This can be done by increasing the weight used, increasing the number of repetitions with the same weight, adding sets, reducing rest time, or increasing time under tension. The most common and effective is gradual load increase. To implement this correctly, keep a training diary or use an app to record your exercises, weights, and repetitions. Each week or every 2 weeks, seek to progress in at least one of these aspects. If you did 175 pounds on the bench press for 8 repetitions this week, next week try to do 9 repetitions with the same 175 pounds. When you can do 10 to 12 repetitions, increase the weight by 5 to 10 pounds and return to the range of 8 repetitions. Even 5 to 10 pounds of increase over months represents enormous progress and muscle growth. A common mistake is trying to progress every workout, which leads to jumps in load that are too large and loss of technique. Slow and consistent progression is superior. For men over 40, this progression should be even more gradual and respectful of the joints, but no less important. If you enjoyed this and also want to discover a complete chest workout that hits all portions of this muscle so you can finally have a respectable chest, we've left a video appearing right now on the screen showing each one of them better. Be sure to check it out. Thank you for watching until here, and may God bless you, my friend.